All right, cool. Hold on, let me just
put it away.
You had all this time to plug in, you motherfucker.
No, these are just my cords.
He's gonna hang himself?
Sorry. Hold on. Okay.
If only we could see it now.
All right, so I had to get those cords out of the way because, folks listening, we're coming at you live.
Fuck it. We'll do it live.
You're alive! No, hello everyone. Welcome to Stacked Podcast, the show all about stacking movies up, Blu-rays. We tell you the best tips on how to stack them in terms of balance, weight class, thickness, depth.
Yeah, there's a difference between a Criterion case and a regular case.
No, the big news is this week, I can touch tips with Chris right now.
Oh!
And with Brandon. Oh, we're touching fingies. It's like the E.T. poster. If only you could see this. But you can't. Okay.
Put the poster.
Yes. Show the E.T. poster. Boom. That's us right now. Welcome, everyone, to... We are recording this in Chris's apartment, and we got some stomping folks up above. Yeah. I don't know if they're going to shut up. No, okay. Maybe... if we're lucky in this podcast, we'll have a confrontation with them live. We'll take the mics and we'll go up there and we'll tell them to shush up. Tell y'all shush.
Go up to one of the freshmen that live above me and just go like, hey!
Shut up! Try to record podcast. Anyways, yeah, we're live. We're here in person, and yeah, we're continuing our Halloween-athon, but yeah, I must add that we're also being mixed live by our previous guest, Tori, because she's a sound mixer, and she's standing right there with her big old headphones on the computer, mixing up everything, making everything sound real nice. So shout out to Tori for that. I'll add some audience applause, because that's really fucking sick. Sorry. I was just taking a sip of me water because I'm a thirsty boy. Anyways, okay, so let's get into today's show. Anyways, it's just me. I'm gonna introduce you guys. But fellas, say something.
I'm Brandon.
And I'm Chris.
That's our personality.
Right. This feels so weird.
Well, it's just like we've been doing this for like 4 months now, maybe.
Yeah.
But like,
I don't know.
We've done this show internationally.
Mm-hmm.
We've done it like
locally,
streets away from each other.
Yeah.
And now we're in the same room and we're totally off our game.
It's a lot like a lot of podcasts like who had to switch to like digital, from ways apart. Like they felt all weird about this, and now sort of the tables have turned for us.
Yeah, we're going in
reverse. Our roots were in the digitalness and looking at each other through our screens on Discord, but now this feels really fucking weird. I have to like turn my head to talk to you guys. Chris is on my right, Brandon's on my left. I go, what?
Would be good for visual comedy if we had video, but
yeah,
you could just like edit like your guys' head just turning between me and Brandon.
Maybe I can like sync this, but oh, look, here's the studio. We're recording it live. Oh, this sounds so cool. Look at Brandon's shirt. Oh shit, I can't zoom in. But look at this fool.
it's hot.
It's hot here.
It's hot. They turned off the air conditioner.
Okay, let's get into today's show, shall we? This week is all about monster movies because we're continuing with our, what do we call it last week? Halloween-athon?
Yeah,
Halloween-athon.
It wouldn't be Monster-thon.
Monster-thon. It's just gonna be a different
monster.
So last week was Ghost-a-thon. This week is Monster-thon.
We're not grouping together the episodes in the playlist.
Monster-thon, more like Monster-thon. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm wearing right now.
But it was like a Halloween-athon.
Okay.
Don't pick up on that. No, but I think we're doing it. It's called Halloween-athon.
Yeah, it's also a very like special like month of October in the sense that like we get 5 episodes of Stack in this month because 31st is is the 5th episode, and
Mhm.
you know, the first is here we are. So
Yeah.
We're not going trick or treating. That's for babies.
You're not trick or treating.
No.
When's the last time you all trick or treated?
it's been a while.
Do you remember like knowing it was your last?
Yes.
Yes, I do as well.
I was like, I think 7th grade, and my friends and I were like, "Are we gonna do it this year?"
Yeah.
And it was kind of like a last minute decision. And I remember our like haul of candy was like lesser because like, you know, when you're a kid they give you extra candy,
Of
but
course.
when you're like
Yeah.
a 7th grader they're like,
What the hell are
"Oh,
you doing?
you've been on this rodeo before. We're gonna like not give you any candy." So your best bet was to take more than one of the
Right.
places that said to take one.
Yeah.
So yeah, but like I knew that was my last one, and then I would just participate at because my dad does a graveyard in the front of our house every year.
Mhm.
Maybe
Oh, yeah.
I can send you a picture. And it's like I used to be like participating in the front yard shenanigans. So one year my dad tied me up to
Oh, wait, cut the video.
no.
All right, so Brandon's dad hogtied him.
He didn't
He was
do
out
that.
there wrangling and screaming all night. Let me out!
He tied me to the garage.
What?
Oh, that's much better, Brandon.
Just in your undies.
It's like a chain. And then he did the makeup on me to look like a zombie, and all these kids would come up and take candy, and then I'd like run at them until I knew the chain was like, you know, a little
Mhm.
bit too, you know, so they'd be like, oh shit, like it's a real zombie. Or the time when they put me in a cooler in the front yard.
You need to like.
You
You need a therapist.
Brandon, blink twice if you need help.
No.
My dad tied me, put me in a cooler. He whipped me.
So we had a fog machine, and I was dressed up like a vampire, and my hand was hanging out of the cooler,
Mhm.
like the lid was down, and there was a light inside, and these kids would come up and they're like, "That's real," and then the parents are like, "It's not real," and then I'd jump out and I'd scare the parents, but not the kids.
Would you scream, "I am real"?
No,
It's real. It's not real. I am real. Yeah.
It was a good time.
What about you, Chris? Do you remember your last night? of
Not
trick or treat?
specifically. I do just remember the idea of like feeling kind of like, oh wow, I don't know if I'm meant to be doing this year, because it's
Mhm.
like I was past the age of like the excitement and all like the magic of the Halloween night, but at the same time, it was still I was still young enough to want to do that stuff. So I remember like walking around like my neighborhood with like a couple like of my friends from the neighborhood, and it was really nice just like kind of wander about, kind of similar to Brandon. We didn't get as much candy as usual.
Right.
But at the same time, it was kind of like it was like a last supper kind of thing, in the sense like it was like
Yeah.
a bittersweet
Who
kind of
fucking
like
died?
I don't know. But yeah, it was kind of like fulfilling in the sense like this is the last one, and like
Mhm.
we're just gonna enjoy ourselves tonight, and that's
Yeah.
it. No, but how about you, Ethan?
Yeah, it was sort of the same experience for me where like my English teacher in 8th grade, he's like, if you guys are still trick-or-treating after this year, then like fuck. You're a fucking loser, basically. And I was like, oh man, well, I guess this is my last year. Then you're a fucking loser. No, you stopped trick-or-treating before me, because
Yeah.
mine was 8th grade and yours was 7th grade. But I remember my cousin and I, it was me and Milo. That was my last night. It was just the two of us. We went solo, and we went up to the avenues in Salt Lake City, where we usually went, and that's where all the jazz players live, in those big mansions up on the hill. So we scored big for our last year, just getting all the nice, real big candy, you know. And
Yeah.
we knew that was it. And it was just the two of us, and we just vibed that night. It was nice.
Got a PCP and a Butterfinger. And
PCP,
like,
yes, lots of shrooms, PCP, LSD. Like it was that. What's Halloween without that, you know?
I've always heard of like parents, like especially in like I hear a lot about this in like movies and just like in general, but like parents being worried that like people put like knives or whatever in like their kids candies, and then like they always check their kids candies.
Oh yeah.
Were your parents like that? Because my parents like had full trust.
Not really. We weren't on the receiving end of that. We were really on the giving end of that, where we were putting the knives in the candy.
Oh.
Just trick or treat. Trick or treat. So it was the trick.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Jokers.
My parents didn't want me eating candy growing up, So what they did was they would like pay my sister and I for candy.
What?
So like
Wow.
it would be like a scavenger hunt to see who got the best one. So if you got like and money was like hard to come by if you were like, you know, didn't have a job, unemployed, 7-year-old.
Times are tough.
Times are tough as a 7-year-old.
And I remember like coming home and like going through my candy, and the ones that I didn't want that I knew would be of high value, I would be like, hey, here, it's like money back, and then I can buy better candy later.
Okay. How long have we been talking about fucking Halloween? This is not the Halloween podcast. Sorry, we went on a little tangent there about candy. Let's get into what this show is, what it's all about, and we'll get into our picks. So let me start off with the prompt. All right. Once a week we set a topic or theme and go our separate ways to construct our own 3-film stack. Then after a week, we come back here on the podcast and share our own stacks 1 film at a time. Then at the end of the show, we will mix and match our 9 films to make the ultimate decision on what quintessential 3-film stack we are checking out of this hypothetical video store. Woo! See? I got proof. I did it in 1 take.
I didn't hear anything.
There we
I didn't
go.
hear a damn thing.
No fuck-ups, no fuck-ups.
That was your 5th time. I can't believe you.
My 5th. No,
You're
that was
such a
not my
fraud.
5th
You're a
time.
fraud.
You're a
That was
fraud.
probably like my...
First?
No, that was probably like my 13th time getting in one go.
Oh, okay. I thought
I probably messed up
Oh,
for 4 episodes.
he didn't get it.
Anyways,
It's
okay. Let's get into what this show is all about, which is monster movies. So, I want to ask everyone before we share our monster movies, like, what is our definition of a monster movie?
Right.
We didn't really go over it.
Yeah. Like
I know.
that's
so
something.
that's why I'm asking. You
I
on
know
the
that's
show.
like something we had with like when we were talking about the ghost thing because we were like ghost demons. Does that count? Because you know there's a lot of I'm saying the word again intersectionality in these genres. So monster I think is something that can really go any way. And I suppose it's like a very otherworldly being that is very like I'm not sure how to describe it.
Non-real.
Like non-real, I guess. I don't know.
Unreal. Because, like, can you consider, like, something like a giant, like, kaiju?
Yeah,
Like
I would call it
like-
kaiju.
Yes.
Okay.
Like, doesn't kaiju mean monster?
Yeah. It means
I don't
giant-
fucking
it means,
know.
Literally means like
I
giant
don't
monster
speak.
or something.
Uh,
This isn't the Japanese podcast either, so.
But also, it's like when everybody talks about monsters, they usually talk about the Universal Monsters movies. So, like, the Frankensteins, the Draculas.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know if, like, I think a vampire would be considered a monster as well.
Yeah, I would say so too.
So
Wait,
I mean,
you say it would, but or not?
No, I think it would be
Oh,
because
okay, I
it's
thought you said-
it's under
Yeah.
that Universal banner of Universal Monster
Yeah.
movies. So you've got the kaiju's, you've got the Universal monsters, which are the traditional 1930s like depiction of like otherworldly beings or something like really deformed and disgusting.
Mhm.
That kind of monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like there's also like things like for example, say zombies or
Oh.
Chucky is like it's kind of a monster,
I
and
don't
of
know
course
about
like
Chucky, but we'll see.
yeah, but it's also like for example, Ethan brought up this idea that like about like you know monsters of course is a subjective term. So like what you know, for example, a horrible human being, one could characterize that as a monster, but I think
Yeah.
we're gonna kind of keep it like Halloween-y
Yeah.
for this one, so we're not gonna go into that kind of stuff.
We can keep it fantastical.
Yes.
All right. So let's get in it. I'm going first this time, and I'm starting with a classic.
Okay.
Oh.
So how I structured my stack was mainly by like I feel like there's eras of monster movies.
Mhm.
There's the classic monster movies. Then there's more of the like I feel like there's the modern monster movies from like the 70s, 80s, 90s.
Mhm.
And then I feel like there's like a postmodern era of monster movies where people are sort of playing with like the themes of monster movies of the past and turning them on their head.
Right.
So I'm going to start with my classic monster movie first. And that is my favorite monster movie of all time. 1952's Godzilla, directed by Ishiro Honda.
classical.
Bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, 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 bum. Yep. Oh my God. Talk about using a genre like this to really say something about a culture at a time, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's what's made Godzilla so terrifying is its nuclear war allegory, you know? It's infamous that Godzilla was designed after like the burn marks of the people who were hit by the nukes in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, you know?
Mhm.
And it is an insanely sad film. I watched it recently, maybe a year or two ago, and there's like the best scenes of this film probably don't involve Godzilla at all. I mean, those scenes are cool because, like, I think that was the first time where there was like a dude in a suit being the monster. Usually it was stop motion, like King Kong and the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms or some shit like that, where it's like a little stop motion lizard, or maybe they just like put an iguana in like a miniature like city and put like a horn on its head or something. They did that, but like this was like, I don't know, this felt a lot more material because it wasn't stop motion and it was like actually moving and breathing like a person. And yeah, this movie's just sick. Like I said, my favorite scene is just like towards the end of the movie. There's just a mother like embracing her child, saying that we're gonna see daddy soon, don't worry. And I'm just like, what the fuck? This is like, it's so weird to see that compared to like how Godzilla really has become like in the 60s and 70s, where he's the savior of Japan, Godzilla, you know. But like it's such a tragic film. And yeah, I love it. I love the Godzilla franchise, and I think this is the one that hooked me. No, I think 2014 was the one that like introduced me to like my wanting me to get more into Godzilla, but then this one was like, okay, this franchise is something that's worth something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I like it.
Yeah.
I think I don't know. I don't think it is my favorite Godzilla movie, but it's very similar to the English language one that they did, Godzilla King of the Monsters. Or what's it called?
Yeah, that's right. I would say that one's not that great because...
No, I agree.
Okay.
But I'm just saying that one, and then there's the new one. But this, like, it definitely sets a unique tone because it is really playing on those nuclearization messages that they're going for.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, out of all of the early monster movies, like 1950s and before, I would probably say it's one of my favorites. Just because, like, I like the Frankensteins and the Draculas of the world, but as far as like, for this one, it just felt more real.
Yeah.
You know? Whereas like King Kong feels like a fantasy, but kind of like a shittily made one, whereas this feels really realistic. Like, people know about the man in the suit, but like, to me, I watched it and I was like, honestly, it was really well done and I couldn't really tell it was a man in the suit. And like you said,
right,
the focus really isn't on Godzilla, which is the kind of the point, because like it's more trying to convey how people react in a time of crisis, as well as how do you deal with something that's like so destructive and powerful as Godzilla.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I remember like seeing this movie way back in like high school for the first time, and it was such like a kind of like a weird like transition for me in my impression of Godzilla, because kind of like you said, Ethan, when I was growing up, I was like, oh, Godzilla, savior of Japan, like very happy, like, and like, wasn't there like a kid show where like he had a kid?
Yes.
Yeah.
Godzuki.
So like it was all very like cutesy for a while, and then I remember like right when I got into movies was around like 2014, 2015 era, which is when Gareth Edwards' Godzilla came out, and that like really wowed me because I was like, oh wow, look at this darker take on this like seemingly pretty like innocent character in my childhood. And so then eventually I checked out the original film, and I was kind of just like enamored by how much darker of a story that this film takes. It's like story of like mortality and like the way humans care and react to like, you know, in the face of destruction and their oblivion is really, really like haunting. There's something very like existential about it. But it's like, it's still done in this very like hauntingly fantastical, I think is the word I'm looking for. Like kind of just like you don't know you know, where they're gonna go next, and like it's so like unbelievably like haunting. It, like, and you know, a movie about like a monster tearing through a city is something like, you know, by the standards of our generation isn't the scariest thing in the world, because like, you know, we've come desensitized to that kind of thing, like with, say for example, Pacific Rim. Like it's badass to see stuff like that, but like to see it conveyed in this way, it's kind of like
kind of jarring.
Yeah, jarringly refreshing in a weird way.
I gotta say, before we get to the next film, if you guys like this film, you gotta check out Shin Godzilla in 2016.
I've heard
really
that-
good things about it.
That takes the narrative of, remember the big, I think it was the tsunami and earthquake that hit a couple years before that.
Yeah.
And
Was it inspired by?
yes, it's a real commentary on like how their country responded to that.
Mhm.
And that one is probably the most terrifying Godzilla I've ever seen. But this one just hits home for me just because it's so jarring that it was so ahead of its time when in 1952 when
It was
monster
right
movies-
after.
Yeah.
After like 7. I mean, 7 years is pretty close to.
7 years is very close, and considering like its genre and how like it was considered B movie, you know, and how hard hitting it is for a B movie. It's just, I love this movie so much. Yeah, Godzilla. Okay, Chris, take us into your first monster pick.
All right, so I'm kind of going in a similar order to you, Ethan, in terms of like more like classical and then moving into more contemporary stuff later on. So I think this is a movie I think we all really like. I'm gonna go with something a little bit more like, this is a movie I think when you go to, especially like guys like us, like going to film school, this was a movie that I think was very pivotal for our generation of like filmmakers or film academics or whatever to just like adore and study and just like kind of just like fall in love with. It's a movie from 1979 directed by Ridley Scott. It's Alien.
Double stack, baby.
Hey, already.
Oh yes.
All right, so wow, this is a crazy movie. I adore this. It's like, you know, Brandon, I know you like Aliens more, and actually I do too. But I do think Alien, the original, is arguably one of the most well-made, perfectly done movies I've ever seen. I'm really like happy with like how well executed Ridley Scott does everything he does in this film. The Alien, and I think we can agree like this Alien is just may as well just be a monster.
Yeah,
you know,
the xenomorph is a monster.
So I really love this movie. I think it's so fascinating the way they do it. I mean, I adore like its special effects. I adore its story. But one thing I really love is surprising, because this isn't something that stands out to me that much. I love the sound design in this movie.
Yes.
That every moment is so well ratcheted in its tension. The tone of the movie is so haunting. And I don't know. I mean, Ethan, you're a bigger fan of this series than I am, so why don't you go for it?
Hasn't even seen all the movies.
Do I really need to see Alien 4
Yes.
to be a true fan?
Fucking complete it.
All right. Well, yeah, you said you wanted to go through the 4 films with me. You said on the show. We haven't done it yet.
Come
so
on.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Let's do it, baby.
I'll punch you.
Okay.
I will. You're right there.
I fucking dare you to. Okay.
Oh fuck!
He did it. Yeah. I mean, hey, its slogan is "In space, no one can hear you scream." So, going off your analysis of the sound design wasn't really analysis, just pointing out how amazing it was. Yeah, this is another film ahead of its time. I recently watched. I think I brought it up on the show, the documentary about Alien. It's called Memory. Came out last year.
Mm-hmm.
That I feel like a lot of people should watch before rewatching this film, because you'll get to see a lot of like the philosophy behind this movie in terms of basically power dynamics. This is surprisingly a very feminist film.
Mm-hmm.
Tori.
Ripley's a badass.
Ripley's a badass. She's one of the greatest on-screen film heroines of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I confidently can say that.
She's the best female on screen.
Ever?
Yeah.
Best woman.
Best woman on
look
screen.
Look forward to next month. We're gonna do just women movies about the best women in movies.
I'm gonna pick all of the Little Women's.
You can't pick them all.
Yeah, I can't.
There's not 3 of them.
Yes, there are. There's like 7.
Okay.
Brandon's gonna hog all the women in
But
film.
there's not just 3. Yeah, you can't do a 7 stack. Come on.
I know.
Play within the rules. But yeah, like, it's so interesting to see the sexual narrative that's being played in this film, you know? It's so high concept, but like, it's, if you look at like H.R. Geiger's designs and of the xenomorph itself, it's very like invasive
Yeah.
to the female body, you know? Like he
Yeah.
literally has like a
Yeah.
penis mouth.
Yeah, the film is
in the
like
mouth.
like the phallic imagery in
Yeah.
this film is like very, very haunting.
Mm-hmm. It's literally
Puts
like,
it in perspective, I guess,
Yeah.
in a way.
and it's like a good pro working class movie.
Yes. It
Where
is.
literally the only characters in this movie that are like, if you listen to what they said, you would have been completely safe. You know, like Harry Dean Stanton and Ripley. You know,
Mhm.
if you listen to those characters, none of this would have happened. But instead, you're listening to the dude, the robot, who's literally a product by corporations. You
Mhm.
know, literally a product of the time, and he's one of the most misogynistic characters in the film.
Brandon
Hey,
is literally facing the other way.
Excuse me.
Wait.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, hold on. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Care to tune into the podcast?
Oh, I'm listening. You'll see what I have to say.
Okay. All right, fine. I'll wrap up. Brandon, what do you have to say?
Oh, here's what I think.
Yeah.
I have a hard time. I know it's I fucking know it's a great movie. It's one of my favorite Alien movies, but like in terms of Alien, not just Alien the franchise, but Alien
Like Little Man from Outer Space.
right, even Big Man from Outer Space,
Or Big Man from Outer Space.
but
Or Medium
Monster,
Sized.
Monster, come on,
What?
fellas, come on.
It's not like an intelligent being. It's like a creature.
Are you saying that monsters can't be intelligent?
I'm saying it's a monstrous
Are
being.
you being ableist towards monsters? either?
What? No! You wouldn't call the xenomorph a monster.
No,
What would you call it?
An alien.
a being.
A being? Oh my god, a being is coming towards me!
All right,
What?
next week, stay tuned for our being movies. This is a
Brother, you're a
this is bad
dumbass.
choice.
I love this movie. I really do. I think this is the best tension. This is one of the first rated R films I ever watched as a kid.
Right after.
Right after
J.
J.
Edgar.
Put it in.
Fuck-
Put it in.
No, fuck that movie.
And I remember
Wait.
seeing. I don't know. I was like really interested in it, and I got the fucking like 4-pack quadrilogy when it was only 4 movies,
Mm-hmm.
and I loved it. I loved what it covered. And the restoration on it is beautiful. The cinematography is gorgeous. It's very like empty,
Yeah.
like vast but empty. And the special effects. You can't mention this movie without talking about the special effects.
Yes.
And like the set design and miniatures that they have are fantastic.
Yeah.
And there's so much mystery to it that you don't really need a plot. The film doesn't really rely on the plot as much as it does. It's just about surviving, you know?
Yeah.
And I love that. I really do.
Well, like I said, it's incredibly high concept with so much subtext. You know, like
Mhm.
It's deceptively deep. I would give that
Yeah.
to you. But I honestly have a hard time categorizing it as...
Okay, well,
It's a
you.
I don't understand.
Okay, I'm gonna give credit to Tori because she texted me this while you were talking.
Yeah.
She said,
Okay.
"Brandon not thinking xenomorphs are monsters is kind of xenophobic."
Our sound mixer has the jokes.
A being. It kills people. Monster movies are about like Dracula and Frankenstein and
I've
the
got
mummy killing
I've got
people.
worst monsters.
All right, well,
all right. Well,
you're
let's.
so high and mighty on your definition of monster. Why don't you show us what?
Yeah.
what's
All right.
up-
Tell us what a
what's
real
upset?
monster is.
My
Brandon.
first movie is 1983's comedy special, Bill Cosby himself, because he's a monster. For
What?
I'm joking.
I was like, that's a monster, not a being. You made a Bill Cosby joke.
I'm not on this show. On our show, you made a Bill Cosby joke.
Hey, I'm just gonna keep
What's
it.
your real pick?
This is a 2003 Hallmark movie called Monster Makers. I am being completely serious.
All right, you're right.
You guys are
I'm-
looking at me like I just killed a man.
All right, what's this movie about?
I need to look up this movie.
Monster Maker.
Talk about it. Talk
Okay.
about it.
So this is a movie that I saw as a child just randomly one day on TV because we had cable and I channel surfed and it's crazy. Yep, that's the one. And it's this movie about this kid who for some loves movies, is bullied because he likes movies. And then what happens is one of his favorite monster movies comes to life. Like people one day in a lightning storm get sucked out of their movie and into real life. So 3 monsters, a mannequin, a wolf man kind of guy, and then I think it's either a mummy or what's the other one? A mummy
all
or a
I'm
vampire?
seeing is the mannequin and the wolf man.
Yeah, there is one more,
Google
and then
images.
there's this other movie heroine, and the movie heroine and the kid have to go around and capture all these monsters and send them back into the movie where they belong, rightfully. And for me, it terrified me as a kid. It made me laugh as a kid. But like that mannequin, holy shit. Like he was trying to steal people's body parts and I'm like, this is a Hallmark movie? Oh my gosh, it's so terrifying. These are movie monsters in real life.
Oh my.
Are you trying to discredit our show right now?
Yeah, what is
Pulling this shit?
Godzilla, Alien, Monster Maker, a Hallmark movie.
Monster makers.
I could have chosen.
Who makes the monsters? Does the why is it called monster makers?
I don't know.
The monsters are there. Who makes them?
You know, they're movies. They're movies. They're from a movie. So the people who made the movie are the monster makers.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And it was crazy.
Okay.
You know what?
What?
Give it a shot. It's got David Henry in it from fucking.
How would I watch
Wizards
this
of-
movie? Is it on the Hallmark Channel?
No. Just buy it. Buy it on Amazon.
I'm not gonna buy that movie.
Yeah, I want to support the filmmaker.
You buy it and you show it to us. That's how we'll watch
I
this
kind of
movie.
want to though, because
Yeah?
David Henry plays a bully in this movie, and he like becomes like a military figure to try and take out the monsters.
Yeah.
And he's not even the main character.
Wow.
He's crazy.
Okay. All right, monster makers. Cool.
Shut up.
Sick.
Okay. All right, so my second pick was Alien. So Chris, let's go into your second pick.
Yep. All right, so my second pick is a movie from 2014. 2014 was a pretty great year for horror cinema. Like Babadook came out that year.
Yeah.
Well, Godzilla, Gareth Edwards' Godzilla came out that year as well. Anyway, so yeah, my movie came out in 2014. It's directed by David Robert Mitchell. It is a film titled It Follows.
Okay.
Now I really love this movie. I think it's so well done. So yeah, the film's concept is actually very simple. It's basically an unknown force follows a woman after a sexual encounter, and that's pretty much the general like log line. There's not much more else to it, but what makes this movie so special to me is, of course, the way it's executed. I find the contemporary setting, the way at which it deals with its themes on like adolescent behavior, consent, sexual assault, human mortality. It's all really well done, and to bring those very hauntingly real, horrifying concepts and externalize it through this monster is really inspired. And that's why, Ethan, I bring this up again, but our horror film class,
Yes.
Professor Roy Finch told us that, at least in his opinion, the best horror films are the ones that terrify you because it's related to something you're terrified of in real life.
Yes.
And obviously...
Are you terrified of the vagina?
Man, I lost my train of thought after that.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We're gonna have a go talk with Brandon. Just Chris,
No, but yeah, so like the what I'm sure like so many people, like, especially like in this day and age, it's so like terrifying to like talk about like consent, sexual assault, and all that kind of stuff, because like it's becoming something that's more attuned to our conversation as a society.
right.
Now more than ever, hopefully, I like to believe that's becoming something I think people are taking more seriously and like are working into their conversations with their significant other or whomever it is they might be engaging in this kind of activity with.
Right.
So I really find this movie fascinating. It is also absolutely terrifying. There's something about like a figure, an unknown figure, it lurking in the shadows, just staring at you. and ever so slightly pacing towards you, and you have nowhere to go except towards it. And that is just such a horrifying thing. And, you know, the entire film, some would argue, and I would probably agree, the entire film functions as a larger allegory for sexual transmitted diseases. And yeah, I really found this movie like fantastic. I mean, Brandon, I know you've seen it, and Ethan, have you seen it?
I haven't seen it. I
Okay.
really want to.
It's really great.
This is a great like example of monsters as metaphors.
Yeah.
You know, like I think that's what makes monster movies work so well is when they're symbolic, like you said, like what our professor said, of our everyday fears being manifested into these creatures. And yeah, I don't know why I haven't gotten around to this film. Guess I just skipped it. I don't know. I wasn't really a big horror watcher in high school, so I think that's why I missed it in theaters, but I gotta check it out. Brandon, what do you think?
Not scary.
Not for you?
You don't have any fears.
You're not scared of the vagina,
anything.
Brandon?
No, I'm not. Confidently, I can say that.
Great.
Fuck you.
Good to have on the record.
No, here's what I think. It's like It Follows is a really good movie. Like, I really enjoy watching it. Michael Monroe gives her best performance of her career. Not that she's had many great performances.
Jeez.
No offense. I just, like, I feel like she always plays the same character, but in It Follows, it very much feels like she's terrified, and that's why I think the viewer is more terrified. For me, I didn't really find the film that terrifying as much as I found it interesting because of what you were saying about how it kind of like was at the beginning of like the Me Too era, as well as like the such and such with the STDs of being followed by a mistake that you made,
right,
or something like that for your rest of your life. And I find that to be a really fascinating thing to cover. And I think a lot of people misunderstood the movie because of that, because they went in expecting something different. Personally, I didn't find like the people who were following them like that scary, but like I agree the idea is scary. But I think it's still a really solid movie.
Okay. All right. Solid pick. All right, Brandon, take us in your number.
If you give us another Hallmark movie, I'm going to punch you in the face.
Oh, my next film.
Oh boy, well, I have a present for you.
How I Married My Teenage Crush. No, just that's a real movie. I've seen it. It's on the Hallmark Channel, but that's not the movie I chose.
Is Brandon secretly like a Hallmark like aficionado? Like,
I hope so.
Do your family watch a lot of Hallmark movies in the holidays?
We got this one. You guys know it. It's the Christmas Lodge, but
Yeah.
But somehow we stumble upon these shitty Hallmark movies and we watch them, and sometimes they're like fun, and so because they're so bad, and sometimes they're just very bad.
Have you seen the collection of like the Hallmark Christmas posters where it's always like white family wearing green and red sweaters by the Christmas tree?
Yep. It's lovely.
Oh my god. All right, well, give us a real film.
It was the movie that Ethan probably was going to double stack with me. It's 2014's Godzilla by Gareth Edwards.
Wait, really?
Yes.
That's not what I was going to pick, but go
Oh,
off,
shit.
kid. Let's go.
I came this
love
close to
movie.
picking that movie too, but
I
I
think-
eliminated it.
I think this is my favorite Godzilla movie.
Honestly, same.
Yeah, I loved it. A lot of people hated on this movie, and I don't understand why. I really don't. I think when you're talking about a Godzilla movie that focuses on its characters and the situation that you're in, I found this really great because it not only tackled the nuclear metaphor head on, but it also tackled like having to do with like single family or separated families and trying to get towards your family. It's a good family movie. And okay, Tori, stop laughing at me.
The silent giggles.
Keep
going.
But I really like the movie, and Godzilla is great in this movie. He plays the mixture between his original 1950s self, which is that horrifying, ultimately destructive force, and his 1960s through 90s, maybe 80s, kind of like I'm Godzilla, savior of Japan. And I find that great because he can be both, but they've never tackled that before in a Godzilla movie. It's either one or the other. The designs are great. When you do get to see Godzilla fight, it's excellent.
Oh,
yeah,
best in the franchise.
exactly.
Yeah, incredible.
And it pairs the destructive force of nature with the destructive force of a monster,
Yes.
which is kind of what the film's getting at, and it makes you feel puny. I remember they were talking. It's Gareth Edwards, right?
Yeah.
His control of scope, and I know he's been criticized for his directorial style sense, and some of it might not be him,
Mm-hmm.
but his control of making you feel small
Oh,
and making you feel like you're on the ground
Yeah.
is unlike any other director.
Absolutely. I really like this movie too. I think kind of similar to Brandon, this is my favorite in the franchise. Granted, I haven't seen that many.
Mhm.
But yeah, I like you said, Brandon, I really love how this movie like kind of throws you straight into the chaos on the ground and you're looking up the entire time.
Mhm.
There is very rarely a shot where the camera is like flying through the streets and like you're seeing the monsters from a perspective that no human could ever see them from. You're literally seeing them through the eyes of someone who would have been in that situation. And obviously, like, the effects are incredible. Like
Yeah.
Godzilla has never looked so menacing to me.
Yeah.
And like, oh man, he is terrifying in this movie. And I think like Bryan Cranston, Aaron Taylor Johnson, and Elizabeth Olsen all do a great job in this movie. I think they did a great job at throwing you into the perspective of someone involved in this story, but not the monster.
Mhm.
And I think that's like Brandon, like you said, a lot of people were shitting on this movie when it came out because I think the people that we probably saw it with, a bunch of the 14, 15-year-olds, going to the movies,
Right.
we're probably mixed in with people that were like wanting to go see, fun action Pacific Rim kind of shit,
Which came out the year before.
which is,
I believe.
and like Pacific Rim is
Yeah.
great in its own right, but like Godzilla was something different. And like I'm like you said, Brant, like there's been all of that controversy about whether or not Gareth Edwards' work is fully him.
Mhm.
That kind of like escalated in like Rogue One when he did all that, but that's a separate story.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, like they do a great job at throwing you into the boots of a character looking up at these giant beings, and you're really in awe. And then in the final sequence in that big battle, Godzilla's, I'm not going to spoil it for anyone, but he does something.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever like it was an Avengers Endgame level, like my ass was off the seat moment.
Yes. One of my favorite experiences in the theater was that third act.
Yeah.
One word for this movie: sublime. Like,
Yeah.
it's insane how like Gareth Edwards was able to translate this nuclear narrative from Godzilla's history
Mhm.
and put that into a more of an environmental sense, where having like the thing that's going to kill us is this planet, is nature. But because the reason why is because of our energy consumption. So these are monsters powered by our desire to get for nuclear energy. You have these bugs that literally feed off nukes.
Yeah.
And it's just so it takes everything that's so good about the movie Cloverfield,
Mhm.
but
Right.
takes out the shaky cam, the found footage that like becomes gimmicky and makes it actually cinematic.
And I like Cloverfield.
Cloverfield's a great movie, but
Good.
this takes what Cloverfield did and elevates it by, like you said, shooting it from the perspective, having Godzilla be such a sublime creature. Like, one of my all-time favorite sequences in film, period, is when you're first introduced to Godzilla
The
in this
airport.
movie. At the airport.
Where you
they
see
use
his foot.
They use the
fucking
music
foot.
from 2001.
Yeah.
Because that monolith and Godzilla, yes, they should be connected. Same vibes. They are our destroyers. They are our gods, Like, fuck. It gives me chills just thinking about it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people complain about the human characters in this movie.
They're not that
They
bad.
were
I'm like,
fine.
buddy, I've seen 33 Godzilla movies. Listen, things are pretty nice over here. Like, I've seen worse. You're like, after seeing all those characters in those previous movies, you're like, oh, finally, some like pretty like realistic characters.
I think they're serviceable, and they didn't really need to be. They had a goal in mind. They had jobs to do that kept the film busy, but it's mostly about the perspective and the themes rather than the characters themselves.
And they do a twist halfway through the film, which I don't want to spoil, with the human characters, that really shows like how fragile we are.
Yeah.
How unexpected, like, I guess our demise can be.
Yeah.
You don't know, like, you never know when it's coming. And everyone was really angry
Yeah.
with that choice when the movie first came out, but I thought it was brilliant.
I respected it.
Yeah, I give them a lot of props for having the balls to do what they did.
Because they pitched
kinda
it
reminds
as a
me-
little bit of a different movie. I'm not gonna say that
It
it
kind of
was
reminds me
justified.
of Scream.
A little
very
bit.
first Scream,
Yeah, a
the
little
twist that they do there, you
Mhm.
know, it's drawn out a bit more, but I think
Yeah.
I think they're trying to go for the same thing,
Mhm.
but with a more serious tone, of course,
Mhm.
because that's playing off other like slashers. But yeah, great pick, Brandon. Oh,
Excellent.
yes, Godzilla Mania. On
So
this
then we
episode today.
definitely didn't double stack, like you thought.
No, I think we did. Oh, I think we're going to with your third pick.
I
But
doubt
let's
you're
see.
right.
I think I'd be surprised you didn't put this because I know how much you love this movie. But I'm not picking it. I'm not
What?
picking it.
You asshole.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, so my final pick, going into the more contemporary modern movie, a lot more reflective, I guess reflexive too, of the past of this little subgenre of horror. And this isn't really a horror movie; it's a romance movie.
Oh.
That's 2017's Guillermo del Toro's The Shape of Water.
Oh,
Damn.
It is a monster film.
Why did I not even pick that?
I never thought of that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
All right.
Because the monster is not your typical.
Did we all
Yeah.
see this movie in the Felino?
at the pre-release.
But we were all separated.
We were all separated.
I think we were all.
I sat with Troy. Who did you sit with?
Delaney.
I sat with Sellers.
Wait. You sat with Delaney?
Yeah.
And you
I sat with Troy.
Yeah.
Separately from each other?
Yeah. Well, they didn't.
But
They
were
weren't.
This was like at the very beginning of the semester because
Oh.
this movie came out in like the fall of 2017.
Okay.
We got to see it early, but the experience of seeing that was fun because that was one of my first movies that we saw early. So there's like the security guards watching us and
Yeah.
everything. It felt special. It was
Yeah.
a packed house, and
Film kids.
film
We
kids.
love Del Toro.
Everyone loved it, and this is just like everything. I think this might be my favorite Del Toro movie, just because he knows why monster movies are so special.
Yeah.
He's been very open about like his relationship with monster movies and how he related more to the monsters because he was sort of seen as an outcast growing
Yeah,
up,
as
you
a
know.
kid. Right.
And just that message really like struck with me with this movie. It's such a heartwarming movie. I'm a big fan of Creature from the Black Lagoon. I think that might be my favorite Universal monster movie. So seeing that sort of creature sort of return in this setting,
Mhm.
he really does a good job at capturing the 1950s setting. And yeah, this is a movie about, again, monsters as metaphors, about just like social outcasts. You know, you have the old man. What's his name? Dad from Step Brothers. I'm forgetting his name.
Richard Jenkins.
Richard Jenkins.
Yeah.
You know, and you have his whole story about being a gay man in the 1950s.
Yeah.
And then you have Sally Hawkins, right? That's her name.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and you have Octavia Spencer.
Octavia
Octavia
Spencer.
Spencer, yeah.
And then you have all of those storylines playing out paralleled with the storyline of the government containing this monster, this
Yeah.
literal monster, and the relationships that they form with it, and the love that comes out of it.
Yeah.
That's
It's great. It's great. Not Bryan Cranston.
Michael
Jesus.
Shannon.
Michael Shannon. I don't know why
he's so despicable.
He is unbelievable.
Oh, I hate him.
Was
in
he
this movie.
nominated? I think he wasn't.
I don't think he
I
was.
don't think he was.
I-
He should have been.
He was nominated, or Richard Jenkins was nominated.
Yeah, Jenkins was.
Deservedly so.
Deservedly so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like the production design, like
It has
Guillermo
beautiful-
always goes out with that, you know,
Yeah,
making you like really enworlded
yeah.
in this film.
Shout out to Fury for
Shout
that
out
word.
I got so much to say about this movie.
But
Yeah,
go
me
for
too.
it, go for it, bud. Okay.
I love this movie. I remember seeing it and immediately falling in love with it when I watched it, just because it was so weird. And
Yeah,
the stuff that I loved most about it is like we were talking about this in my German cinema class recently, and I know it's not German cinema, but we watched Ali Fury It's the Soul, this melodrama.
great movie.
Yeah, it's an excellent movie, and it's about this character Ali who's from Africa, Morocco, I believe, and he moves to Germany and he's considered an outsider. And the movie tackles his outsider status when he falls in love with somebody who grew up during the Third Reich.
Mm-hmm.
So that's weird, first of all.
Right.
But this movie does a similar thing with the characters that you mentioned. A gay man who's closeted in the 1950s in like this nostalgic era that may never have existed. Then you have the character of Octavia Spencer, who's black. So this is before the Civil Rights Movement.
Right.
And you have Sally Hawkins, who's a mute. So these are all very like discriminated against characters who we can relate to that monster.
Yeah.
And Guillermo del Toro has said this about his movies, and Ethan's probably picked up on this a lot. It's that the monster. He said he wanted to make a monster movie that showed that not all like monsters are evil and bad.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that they can be beautiful and like just be like people that you know. You know,
That, right.
exactly. And that's I think a message that permeated, and a lot of people who said this movie didn't deserve it that year can totally understand that. I think it came out the same year as Get Out, but I think this movie deserved Best Picture because of the message it portrayed about you. I think it went under the surface of, or what's the word, like
over the heads.
Over the head. Sorry, of people who were watching the movie, because everybody I know, it was the same thing that happened with her. She fucked a fish, basically.
Yeah.
Like
the fish stick.
Yeah, exactly. This.
The finger thing,
Where, and everybody was like, "You like that movie?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's amazing.
It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful film." And you could talk so much more about how it's like a love letter to monster cinema, a love letter to cinema. And honestly, it's a fantastic movie.
Yeah, I really love this movie. I'll try not to retread too many of the grounds that we've talked about already, because all three of us fell in love with this movie like the moment we saw it. I mean, just from my perspective, like, yeah, the outsider idea, like every character being to some extent, at least the characters we're meant to like feel for, like to being some extent discriminated, especially in the time like the 1950s. That is a incredibly apt like choice to make, especially like in the contemporary era where like I'm hopeful that like we're starting to move towards a place where we're more accepting of people with like different like lifestyles and of different identities. And I think this is a great movie for like the contemporary era. And like this movie just makes you fall in love, doesn't it? Like, there's this scene where like I think like Sally Hawkins' character is like daydreaming, and the movie switches into black and white, and then they have like that dance sequence together, and it's so romantically beautiful. And so it's weird, right? You're dancing with a fucking giant fish, but at the same time, why not dance with the fish? Who cares?
Some people criticize that scene because it distracted from the movie, but I just think it was just a remarkable attempt to appeal to classic Hollywood. Which is like the Bing Crosby or Gene Kelly dance numbers,
right?
Or Fred Astaire, kind of very, very classical in combining it with the monster format.
And like one thing I want to add is just like we were talking about that black and white sequence. So I was watching this like the cinematographer's roundtable for that year,
right?
And Dan Lowson, who was the DP at that for this movie, he did an amazing job, by the way. He's got such a great eye for lighting. He did John Wick 3, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, he's a great DP.
He is a great DP.
Anyway, but like apparently when Del Toro pitched this movie to him and to the studio, they initially were thinking of doing the entire movie black and white. But unfortunately, the studio didn't want to like take the risk, because obviously like people tend to gravitate towards color movies because it's more visually stimulating. I don't necessarily agree with that, but some people do. But yeah, I mean, like, just it's so well crafted. Like every scene, and like it's a low, but this movie was made for $10 million,
which is it's unheard of today.
Yeah, and like like when. And like, that sounds like it is a lot of money, but like compare that to like what else can get made. Marvel movies. And also, we're big Marvel fans. We love the Marvel movies, but like it's remarkable that a movie was this well made was made for $10 million only, which sounds weird, but that's a small amount of money in the grand scope of things in the film production.
That's so inspiring to be like, you can be this creative with that little amount of money,
I think there's two other things I want to mention. The score by Desplat.
Oh, great.
Beautiful. Great theme, great like interludes throughout the film. Not only the whistle, if you can put it in, please. But if you can't, I can.
Okay. Do you want to do it?
Do you want to sing it?
Beautiful. Thank you.
Okay.
And I mean, he's one of my favorite composers, so it was just magical and dreamlike. And it's a fairy tale, It's like it's his dark fairy tales that he's known for doing. And the other thing I wanted to mention, Sally Hawkins does not get enough hype for this movie. She was nominated for Best Actress. It's so hard to pull off a performance where you do not speak a word. The only other person that I know to do this who was also nominated was Holly Hunter for The Piano. But but she only does voiceover in the movie. But like I said, very hard to do that performance, but those are the two people who have pulled it off.
Yeah.
Okay. Chris, take us in your final film.
Right. Okay, well, we've been going through like these movies, and I think like we started off with like much like darker movies, kind of like keeping it kind of like somber, very horrifying monster stuff.
Yeah.
Where we've just entered our world of fantasy and romance. So I'm gonna keep that up, and I think this is gonna be the most lighthearted film in our stack this week.
Yeah.
Get this right.
Okay.
It's a Pixar movie. 2001 by Pete Docter.
Oh!
Monsters Inc.
That's a monster movie.
That is the monster movie.
I'm so
There is
upset
nothing
right now.
but monsters.
There's
in that
nothing but
movie.
monsters in the movie. Well,
Sorry.
except for Boo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so this movie takes place in a universe where monsters, rule the earth, and they have built a society of their own, and it follows these two characters, Mike and Sully.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, this movie is so like inventive and so creative. I love the factory that they work in. So they work in an energy plant, but the way in which in this universe that electricity is created is by the sound of children's voices.
Mm-hmm.
It starts off with them.
It's the red larva
screams.
screams.
Yeah, it's the red larva screams. Someone should edit that together. Anyway, but yeah, it starts off with them screaming, and then by the end of the film, I won't spoil it, but 2001 anyway. But yeah, I mean, I find this movie so much fun, and like, yes, it is an unorthodox pick for a Halloween themed monster movie category, but like, I really just want to throw this movie a bone just because, like, I don't know, it's just so much fun, and like, yeah, it's a monster movie, but at the same time, like, we were talking about like this idea of like humanizing monsters and like creatures that are so different from our own. I mean, like, I don't know anyone who looks like Sully or Mike. People have told me I kind of look like that character in the beginning that gets a sock on him. Especially back when I had my orange hair.
Yeah.
But let's throw a picture of that right up.
There you go.
But yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. There's something about this movie that just like really touches me, and like the story about like, meeting this other person from quite literally another world, or if you subscribe to the Pixar theory, another time.
Mm-hmm.
It is such like a wonderful story about like, caring for others and, not judging someone based on the way they look, because obviously, yeah, when a kid sees a monster, they're gonna think they're terrifying, and there are real monsters out there like Randall, but there's also wonderful, kind, people that might not look the way you might think a kind person to look, but that's the world we live in. You can't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Michael Shannon was the real monster in Shape of Water, for being honest.
We're going back to this.
No, I'm just mentioning it.
Talk about Monsters Inc.
I love this movie. Top 5 Pixar, maybe top 3 Pixar.
Number 1 for me. This is
Really?
my all-time favorite Pixar movie.
I love Toy Story 3 a lot.
Mhm.
So like Toy Story 3, and maybe it's even top 2. Like I'm struggling to find, maybe Inside Out is better, but Monsters Inc. was like one of my first favorite movies growing up, because it was the first Pixar movie that I really like attached myself to, like even more than the first 2 Toy Stories, which I wasn't like too big on when I first saw them. But I remember popping in Monsters Inc. all the time because this movie is so imaginative. It's funny. It has scary moments that I kind of think are still scary today for some kids. Like when Randall like sucks the life out of that one other monster to test that machine.
Oh yeah.
That
is
terrified me
Yeah,
as a kid.
Fucking tube coming.
And and it's so fascinating because this is a plot about characters who use use people's screams to power their livelihoods.
Right.
Which is really
fucked up.
No, it's fucked up and amazing at the same time, because like I've never seen a movie deal with like something so impertinent, something not impermanent, not pertinent. And I love that. The voice cast is amazing. It's funny. The story is very heartwarming. Like you said, Chris, what happens at the end of this movie? You can't have a heart if you don't look at that movie and like
feel a little something.
If you don't feel a little something right there.
Yeah.
Because like every time I watch it to this day, like holy crap, it really hits.
Yeah, it really does.
It really does. Oh man.
No.
Sully has to
Shut
say
up.
goodbye to Boo. Oh
That-
my god.
But can we, just before you start crying,
Yeah.
can we talk about how funny that sequence is where Sully is watching that cube,
Oh,
and then he's like fainting every 5 seconds.
That like animation there was so insane for what is this, a 2003 film?
Yeah.
2001
Like,
film.
2001?
The fur is better than Illumination fur.
You heard it here
Amen.
first.
And this was like,
But yeah,
this was like before like Pixar like really mastered their technique with
Yeah.
like fur, because like they've gotten really good lately, especially with like water lighting. They've gotten down beautifully.
Right.
But this was before like they were like amazing with all that stuff, and like seeing Sully, like he's like got millions of hair particles on him, and like I think someone did the math that like if they rendered Monsters Inc. with the technology they had at the time with just one computer, they have 1,000 computers at
Yeah.
Pixar to render, but if they rendered it on one standard computer at the time, it would still be rendering.
Really?
Yeah,
Holy shit.
yeah.
But I love the production. I just love the whole vibe of this film. Like the jazz music that you have,
Yeah.
the sort of 50s French backgrounds, you have the Doors in those opening sequences.
Yeah.
You saw that a lot in the early 2000s with shows like Dexter's Lab, Powerpuff Girls, like sort of people being nostalgic about that time in animation.
Yeah.
And it's being further emphasized here in Monsters Inc., which I think is good because it's like, it is kind of like a little European working class sort of society
Yeah,
here,
it really is.
like
It's utopian almost.
it's utopian, but then you see there's some sinister stuff with how they get their energy and everything like that,
Fucking government and corporations,
Yeah, but
corrupt.
it's a great movie about. It's one of the best platonic love movies. The bond between Mike and Sully,
The
Yeah.
bond between Sully and Boo.
and
Yeah.
yes.
Speaking of like platonic love, like that's a great idea, because like it's just, I think one thing that like people tend to get wrong about like about friendship is that like it's always going to be like blossoms and like rainbows and shit.
Mhm.
And like yes, that is a big part of it, but at the same time, best friends are honest with each other, and like they fight. Best friends fight all the time, and like that's because they care for each other.
Yeah.
When Mike and Sully have that big argument when they're in that snow area, like I've had arguments with my friends that kind of go in that way, but at the end of the day, you go back for them because you love your friends.
What's the quote, Brandon, that they also use in Baby Driver? We're a team. I forgot what it is.
There's no I in team. No, just kidding. I don't know.
I don't know, but it well captures the bond that they have. Okay. Oh fuck! I'm trying to round up, trying to narrow down this final stack. But anyways,
Okay.
let's get to yours.
That's
I'm
fine.
just saying. So far,
It's
like
fine.
it's crazy. This is gonna be hard.
This
I
is a
know
hard
what
debate.
movie Ethan wants me to pick, but I didn't pick it.
You didn't really? Okay. Well,
Yeah.
tell us your.
What's your real pick?
My final film is 2016's Colossal. Have you guys heard of this movie?
Why didn't you pick the one? Okay.
I know what you're doing.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen this movie.
It's this Anne Hathaway, Jason Sudeikis movie that caught me completely, totally off guard. I think I saw this movie in theaters, and I remember being like, this is a really interesting way to tackle a monster movie. And it's about this blackout drunk played by Anne Hathaway,
Mm-hmm.
who's like this like struggling alcoholic who's trying to like find her way into improving herself. And one night she falls asleep and she wakes up to a story on the news of a monster that had wrecked the city of I think it was in Japan or South Korea, one of the two.
It was Seoul, South Korea.
Yeah. And what's fascinating about it is she is the monster. And we didn't put that together, but when she yawns or
Oh shit, that's cool.
yeah.
I haven't seen this
she
movie. That sounds...
she controls the monster.
And
Yeah.
she has no idea this entire
No,
time.
well, no, she knows she doesn't know at first, and then one day when she's like sitting in her living room watching TV,
she catches herself doing
exactly,
what the monster's doing.
and then she does tests and stuff, and it mirrors her relationship with Jason Sudeikis'
Right.
character in the film, and it talks a lot about toxic relationships, toxic masculinity. And it takes a turn in a way that you don't really expect, because you think it's going to be this fun a raucous romantic comedy, and then it really takes a really dark turn in the back half, like a very weird dark turn. And I don't think it resonated with a lot of people, which is why I don't think it got the acclaim it deserved.
Right.
But for me, I remember being so happy when I left this movie because I felt like I had seen something original, and I thought I had seen something really meaningful to a lot of people.
Right.
And it's about battling those inner demons on the outside, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Ethan, did you like this movie?
I liked it just fine. Yeah, it's such a creative movie. And we should say, like, she's not always the monster. It's whenever she's in, like, this playground area.
Oh, it's like
It's whenever she's in this certain space, the monster, like, appears whenever she walks into, like, the sandbox area.
Okay.
It, like, appears out of thin air and then starts doing whatever she's doing. But yeah, I think it's a good, again, monsters as metaphors, like confronting your demons and having the consequences of your actions literally become a giant kaiju destroying a city, you know?
Become a monster.
Become a monster.
Right.
But I think if I can remember correctly, because this came out in 17.
16, 17.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 2016 right here. I remember having issues with the pacing in certain reveals of the characters.
For me, it's tone, not pacing.
Tone.
Yeah.
I think after there's just like this certain reveal towards the end of the movie, and then it just takes a different tone, and then everything just seems a lot faster. I'd say
like it rushes because they
It
ran out of a
rushes.
budget.
Probably.
Yeah.
That's probably it because it's very low budget. It's a Neon produced film.
Yeah.
It was one of the first.
That was one of the first. I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got because it had a great logo, so it was very memorable. Knowing that it was
Man,
one of the first.
Neon's like really up their game lately in the last couple of years. Like
They're the new A24.
yeah, they're like new age. Like
Well,
they did Portrait.
Coming up
Competitor.
They did Parasite. Did
Yeah.
they just distribute Parasite?
They distributed it.
Okay.
I don't think they made it.
Yeah.
I don't think distributors usually make movies.
Mhm.
Like sometimes they'll produce it before it comes out. Like
Yeah.
Right.
A24 did that with Chance the Rapper's movie.
Oh really?
Slice,
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
Oh, okay.
But
But yeah,
Wow.
that was pretty
What a
good.
selection this week, guys.
Yeah.
it's definitely an interesting
Okay,
movie.
but now I gotta say, why didn't you pick The Fly?
Oh, that's not what I was thinking of.
What were you thinking?
I was thinking of The Mist.
No,
Oh, The Mist.
You love The Fly.
I do, but
and that is. I was
because
gonna pick The Fly.
can I be honest?
That is an amazing movie.
Can I make a
Yeah.
statement? I didn't choose my films until this morning because I forgot about the podcast.
What?
You never forget it.
I know.
You always like pick them right.
So
when
I
you-
was like monster movies, and I looked it up really quickly, and I saw Monster Makers, and I was like, yes.
I
You
have
gave
to.
2 of your movies a 3.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd.
Well, here's the thing, Ethan.
yeah.
We can spread this out over however long with whatever topics. It doesn't have to be monster movies.
What?
Why are you talking
What are
like
you
Joker?
talking about?
I'm not talking like
Yeah,
Joker.
It's not about the monster
Okay.
movies.
Let's.
Yay!
Let's get to this.
I'm
Brandon.
just recommending people Hallmark's Monster Makers. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. All right.
Shut up.
All right. Let's go over our 3 films one more time before we get to pitching out our final stacks. So I'll start with my 3 films being 1952's Godzilla, 1979's Alien, and 2017's The Shape of Water. Chris?
My films were similar to Ethan. We had a double stack of 1979's Alien, and then I had 2014's It Follows and 2001's Monsters Inc.
And I had
What did you have?
2003's Monster Makers, 2014's Godzilla's, and I had 2016's Colossal.
Okay.
You fucked up this episode.
I am aware.
Dude,
When you
so
said
many
your
movies, I was like, okay, Brandon's gonna pick that.
because I forgot.
Yeah, I can't believe you forgot about
I
The
was
Fly.
busy. I had work. I was
Uh-huh.
concerned about my computer down.
We picked these topics weeks ago.
Shut the fuck up.
I picked these 3 films weeks ago.
Same.
I gotta get to slashers next. I forgot.
Slashers. You'll be fine.
Whoops.
Well, spoilers.
Spoilers.
Next episode.
Spoilers. Okay. I have a pitch. I know for sure 2 of them should be on. Alien, obviously, because the
Yeah.
double stack. I think we can all agree Shape of Water should be here.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say those 2, and then I was gonna put 2014 Godzilla because it feels like we all really shared a lot
And I
of that
think
movie.
So I didn't fuck up.
You got one.
You got one.
I agree with that stack. I think that's the best
I agree
stack.
with that. Yeah.
Okay.
I think we have a nice variation there. That is the most immediate we've ever said. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I don't think I've ever said I disagree. I don't think I've disagreed that much this episode. Only
No.
for the alien thing, and that was like a
That was-
technicality.
Yeah, and you were just
Yeah.
like,
And I was like, I
The
can't really
technicality,
stop
Yeah,
it.
it's-
if you were wrong.
a being.
But-
Also, I can't stop it because it's a double stack. So
Ha.
I'm just gonna go with
Get
it.
fucked.
when are we ever gonna have a triple stack?
No.
We came close a couple of times. I almost picked.
Yeah, you almost picked.
What was it?
It was
You guys-
Walk Hard.
Walk Hard.
You
I
almost
almost
picked
picked
Walk
Walk Hard.
And we almost picked Gummo too.
No,
Yeah,
No.
I didn't.
I didn't.
Okay, never mind.
We all thought
You
about it.
did.
I never.
Oh wait,
thought
I
of it.
picked Gummo. Did I pick Gummo?
I didn't pick Gummo.
Who picked a gum?
I think it was me. I don't remember. Anyways.
Let's run it down.
No, what's the order here? Should we go Alien? Is Alien Godzilla Shape of Water? Is that good?
I think Shape of Water should end because it's the most
Yeah.
feel good. Well,
Yeah.
not really feel good, but like the most contemporary
Yeah.
in the sense of like
Godzilla.
this makes
And it's
it's
reflective
3 years
about its
earlier.
previous film. Alien is a classic.
Alien
so
is timeless. Though.
Yeah,
So
look
it
at
doesn't
that
really
first.
matter where you put it.
Godzilla. Okay.
Here's
let's
what
go.
I'm thinking.
What?
You put like I said, passable character movie, but Godzilla in the middle because I think Alien has a great lead, and then Shape of Water is really well rounded.
And then you just have a really bombastic one in between.
Yeah, that's not really character driven as much as the other two.
Yeah. Okay.
Same
All right.
old shit, you know.
Sweet. Then let's run down Stack's quintessential monster movie 3-film stack. Chris, kick us off.
All right, so we're going to be starting with a 1979 film directed by Ridley Scott called Alien. It is one of the most horrifying, tension-filled, well-executed, and just almost perfectly constructed films I think the three of us have ever seen. A quintessential film for us as film lovers and film academics and potentially filmmakers one day.
Our next film, our second film, Godzilla 2014, is a great kaiju monster movie about nuclearization,
Oh, shut up. You know how many times I've had to edit out your phone buzzing on the podcast? You put it up right against the mic. All right, keep going.
man's relationship with nature, and obviously one of the best movie monsters of all time.
And our final film to wrap this up is directed by the monster master Guillermo del Toro, The Shape of Water. A movie that redefines what it is to be a monster. It's a beautiful film just about acceptance, and one of the perfect movies where metaphors as monsters, as we've said throughout this entire episode, is probably just what I've said. I feel like I keep saying it. Tell me to shut up. No. Yeah, beautiful film. It's a gorgeous looking film, gorgeous sounding film, just with a beautiful message and a great way to end this 3-film monster movie stack. All right, that's it. That's the show. That went pretty well, I gotta say.
Yeah.
I feel like we were a little nervous at first because like
New
we're
format?
we're in a new format, new setting. Like
I'm never nervous.
you're always nervous. You picked monster makers.
I thought you called Guillermo del Toro at the end of Monster. Redefined.
The monster master.
Yeah, but Del Toro's identity redefined monster.
No.
He is the monster.
What it means to be a monster is what I meant. Yeah, it feels nice being here, touching.
Holding hands.
Now we're holding hands together. I'd like to thank Tori for live mixing this episode for us.
Woo!
And keeping track of time so we
Well
don't go
done. Thank
hours
you.
and hours and hours. Because I feel like we could. I feel like we were gonna like just keep talking about trick or treating at the beginning there.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, we gotta stop this. We gotta talk about the
And
show.
also, like, yeah, like I think the longest discussion we had was Shape of Water, and I had to restrain myself a little bit.
Yeah, lots to say. But guys, check out these movies. Maybe not Monster Makers, but check out the rest of these movies. They're really good. And yeah, we'll catch you all next time on Stacked. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Give it a chance.